When looking for RC products on the web, check out rcdeal.com. This segment is sponsored by rcdeal.com.
All right. Welcome to Ustream and /Skype. From what I understand, it is our first interview. Of course, we have Mr. Chad Bradley here, and we're going to grill him on current events, especially over the weekend, about the KO off-road race? Yeah, KO off-road race, because I wanted to say on-road. So we have Chad here. We're going to throw some questions at him and ask him about what happened over the weekend and how his car was doing and maybe some new stuff that might be on the way or other things in the future plans. So how's it going, Chad?
Going good. Going good. A little tired this morning. Long, hot weekend over at West Coast.
Yeah, sounds like hot and heated battle over there. Of course, you're battling with some of the regulars there, and Randy and Jason Kong, but I believe it's Randy that you deal with in the short course, and racing some of the other local guys there, especially one of the employees, I guess his name is Gage, and he's been running pretty well there. So how was racing over there in the first qual?
The first qualifier, I was still learning the track. Randy was going really good, and I think he had a problem with his electronics, and he didn't finish the first round. And the guy who won the Roar Nats with the jam, and I forget his name, he ended up beating me by, Sullivan TQ'd the first round, and I finished, I think, a second behind him. And the second round of qualifying, Randy won by a pretty good margin. And so I think going into the third round, Randy had the TQ because it was 2 out of 3. And then in the third round, I TQ'd that, and my time was faster than Randy's second round time. So I ended up getting the TQ, with a first and a second out of 3 rounds. And then we did the AAA mains on Sunday. I practiced in the morning. My truck felt really good. The dirt was pretty moist, and then it was pretty dry for the first main, and I made a mistake on the first lap. Randy got by, and I was battling mid-pack with a lot of the local guys, and it was really tough to catch Randy. He just pulled away. He was going really good that last weekend. And then in the second main, I made another mistake on the first lap. And Randy had maybe about 7-8 seconds on me, and I was able to close in right behind him. I had a problem with a front wheel bearing that broke, so it was an inner bearing, so the axle fell out. So Randy ended up getting the win by winning the first 2 main events, and I fixed my front end for the third one, and I went out there and I ended up winning that by a pretty good margin. My truck actually, the best my truck worked was in that third main event. I don't know if my bearing was locked up for how long. It was just had one of those weekends. Randy ran good, which was good to see.
So, during the track conditions and what you said, you got like one practice earlier in the morning for Saturday. Did you think about tire changes throughout the race? Maybe tire patterns changing too?
I changed compounds. I normally run the clay compound for the indoor tracks, and since the track was pretty dry, I went to an M3 for the second round of qualifying. They would start the race off really fast, and but towards the end of the race, they would heat up, and I would lose my corner speed and some of my steering, and it would traction roll here and there. So for the third and final qualifying round, I went back to the clay compound, and the car starts off a little bit slower. It doesn't have as much steering, but once a little bit of heat builds in the tires, I'm able to put in like some good lap times, and the truck feels a lot better towards the end of the rounds. So I stuck with the MCs throughout the main, and that was that.
Did it feel like there was any kind of tire wear on the track that made it feel like it was going to, throw something in there that might be a little different in the way the car handled?
No, tire wear was really good. Usually those indoor tracks, I don't go there consistently week to week, but I would think I'd be able to, if I clubbed race there once, maybe twice a week, I could easily do maybe a month on a set of tires. So maybe about, I would say anywhere between 4 to 8 club races on one set of tires. So, budget-wise, the indoor tracks work out really good.
Okay. And say, like, now that you're done with the indoor race and you go back out to hot rods, maybe Tuesday again, do you take those same tires over there and run that same setup, or do you go for something a little bit more different?
No, usually going from the indoor tracks to hot rod, I don't run the same tires. I can't run the clay compound there. I got to run like M3s, and then usually go from the suburb tread design to the whole shot. I've tried suburbs there, but that's mainly just an indoor tire, or a blue groove tire, where hot rods is usually when I race there, it's wet. And I usually just always run M3 whole shots. And what else do I change? Maybe I'll raise the ride height a little bit, depending on how bumpy hot rods is, which it's pretty bumpy right now. And we're going to be putting a new layout in on the 3rd for the JBRL finals the following weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got to go out there after this weekend, and then the weekend after that is electric. So I've already lost track of where I was at. As in power-wise, being that the track got really stagnant air, the air didn't move at West Coast, and the Novak system, how did that hold up, and what power did you have there? Do you change any of the motor band, maybe like 4.5 to 5.5 from either hot rod or going to the indoor tracks?
No, that's something I might be testing here soon, is going to more winds on the motor, and then maybe trying a little bit more timing to get the torque into the truck. I know racing with Quartz, he runs the 8-scale setup, and he has a lot more pull out of the corners, and it sort of depends on the track and the layout if it helps him or not. Usually if it's, a pretty full throttle track, he's pretty hard to keep up with, because of the torque he has. So, but if it's a technical track, with my stuff being censored and really, really smooth that the Novak system gives me, usually I'll have the advantage on stuff like that. But my stuff held up really good. It ran cool. My electronics felt awesome that weekend.
Now, you don't adjust any timing on the motor, do you? Or just maybe, if you do any adjustment on timing, it would just be only speed control, right? And what are the other parameters that you might tweak on the speed control to make it feel better?
I've tried the timing, but it usually doesn't help me, like with my lap times. Usually when I make my stuff actually a little slower, I drive more consistent, and my truck's easier to drive. And I actually, in the long run, from being consistent, I go faster with my stuff being a little bit slower. So I don't really ever play with the timing. And I change 3 things with the Novak. I take the drag brake out, the drive frequency, I smooth it out to the maximum setting, and then the brake frequency, I smooth out a few clicks from the stock setting that the speed control comes with.
And do you prefer the one-button touch system versus having a computer on hand?
Yeah, you know what, I like it. I was actually talking to some of the guys at West Coast with the kinetic system, and I'm not really sure how that speed control works, but I know you got to use a laptop, and I think it might still have the one-button setup also, like the SC version has. But the SC version's been plenty good for me. There's nothing really more I need from it.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I think our segment's just about done. What do you think, Dave? We want to just say, good job out there, Chad. Of course, we already know, and it's not official yet, you are JBRL champion. I could say that, right?
Yeah. I think 2 rounds ago, me and Quartz were tied, but since he had to go to the Electric Nationals, I think that pretty much wrapped it up for me. We had a good series.